I had initially argued that if you give Trump supporters a clear option to defeat Cruz, then they will take it. Kasich needed a little bump to convince people that he can actually beat Cruz. The polling released this week may provide that, and you may finally see that movement towards the center. Remember, Trump is not winning because he's crazy and people like it. He's winning because he was controlling the center of the Republican spectrum. He was the buffer against the crazies. And the more advertising was thrown into Cruz, the better Trump looked. Yet when the field was split a dozen ways, it was rational to support Trump if your goal was solely to defeat Cruz because he was the only candidate that seemed like he had a real shot of doing it. But now that there is only one serious option, Kasich, there is a possibility that the support will coalesce. I had initially bet on this happening happening around Bush, and a little earlier, but he spliced and ran before the fight even started. Cut and run. He did. Kasich just needed a trickle to form in order for it to build into a stream. I think that Kasich should be favored in virtually every remaining state. He could conceivably run the table. It's not Cruz versus Trump with Kasich splitting, it's Trump versus Kasich with Cruz splitting, but beneficially. Put another way, Cruz won't be able to cut into centrist support for Trump, but Kasich will be able to peel it off quite easily if it looks like he can actually win. So buckle up. If Kasich can rack these wins up, and he absolutely can if Cruz gets killed by the National Enquirer scandal, which is amazing, it's going to go to the convention. In fact, I'm going to call it right now. But I'm allowed to change my mind depending on polling as it comes up. I think Kasich can sweep the Northeast on April 26th. Okay, I believe that's Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Connecticut, all those states. Okay. It's either going to be that the Kasich sweeps it or that Trump just obliterates it. Okay. And it's going to depend on, how it's going to depend on how badly Trump makes a fool of himself over the next couple of weeks. It's also going to depend on what Cruz does in terms of his strategies and in terms of media support. Okay. It is absolutely clear that Cruz will not win a single one of those states. Even if Kasich was to drop out, Cruz would not win a single one of those states. Okay. What's going to happen is either that if Cruz's support goes down, I actually don't think that much of Cruz's support will go to Kasich. I think most of Cruz's support will go to Trump, right? So Cruz is this kind of, he's stuck there. He's got his support. It's in these states like Pennsylvania and New York, it's probably around 20% of the Republican base, which is less than half in these states, right? So if they get 30% in the general and he's got 20% of that, you're looking at 5 or 6%, right? It's very, very small levels of support for and he won't. There's nothing that he can do in these states. Okay, his policies are just they're obscene to Northeasterners. Okay, there's nobody in the Northeast that wants Cruz's policies on abortion or taxes or his interpretation of the Constitution. It's that stuff can fly in some places out in the Midwest, but not in the Northeast. Okay? He doesn't have a chance in hell of winning these states, right? If Kasich is going to compete, it's going to be by taking votes away from Trump, right? So Cruz is stuck in that spot. He probably won't go up. Well, he certainly won't go up much, but he probably won't go down much either, right? And if his support does bleed anywhere, it will bleed to Trump because Trump is pretending to be, more extreme. Kasich is running as the adult, right? So what you might see happen is Trump's support move to Kasich. That's what I'm arguing. I'm not arguing that Cruz's support is going to go to Kasich. I'm arguing that Trump's support will go there, okay? And that what Cruz is doing is Cruz is actually splitting in a way that's taking support away from Trump. I know this is not the way the bank wants to frame it. That's, you can understand why they want to frame it the way they want to frame it. And I don't need to go into a deep explanation of that. They want their guy to win, and they don't really care what they need to do with the facts. They'll project any nonsense they want, right? Facts and reality, they don't mean anything to these people, right? But if you look at the second choice and you look at the positions, Cruz is way out in the right. Trump is, on a lot of issues, Trump is way to the left of Kasich, but there's some issues where he's trying to pretend he's to the right, so let's say he's in the middle. And then you've got Kasich, he's the more moderate one, right? So if people are voting, based on what it is that they actually want to see happen, I do think that you will see those Trump votes move to Kasich if he can get the support and all these sorts of things, right? If that doesn't happen, then Cruz stays around his 20%. Kasich, whatever he gets, and then Trump gets like 60%, 70% in these states. Okay, but I don't think that happens. I think that large amounts of Trump support move to Kasich, and you may even see Trump come in third. But he has to make that case. Okay, he has to have the media exposure, which a lot of it has to do with Trump saying stupid things, right? But that is on it. I do honestly think that's going to happen. That you will see huge amounts of support move from Trump to Kasich. Cruz will stay about where he is. Those are kind of throwaway votes, anyways, because they wouldn't move to Kasich, they would move to Trump. And I don't think Kasich voters would move to either of them. I know that if you look at the second choice, Kasich supporters are more likely to support Trump, right? So if Kasich does drop out, that just means Trump wins by a bigger margin. But I think that what you will actually see is those voters might vote for Clinton, right? So it's one or the other. If Kasich can win, I think he needs to do well in Wisconsin for this to work out, though. And when I started this rant, Kasich was actually winning in some of the polls in Wisconsin. The polls that have come out since then have had him drop back. So that's interesting to me. Is that just like an outlier? Was it modeling something differently? Is it exposing that the other polls that we're seeing are manipulated? And is that really the truly honest poll? I don't know. I know that the demographics in these northeastern states, and actual things like wealth distributions, ideological perspectives, these sorts of things, it massively favors Kasich, okay, and they should be voting for Kasich by large margins. But if that doesn't happen, then Trump wins on the first ballot because he gets enough. Okay, so these are the two options. Either Kasich can stop Trump by running the table in the Northeast, and if that doesn't happen, then Trump wins these states in huge amounts. Okay, the one thing that's certain, absolutely clear, is that Cruz doesn't have a chance, and I'm not saying he should drop out exactly, because I do think that that he's preventing Trump from getting over the top, kind of thing. If Cruz drops out, more of that support will go to Trump, right? And then it's I think Trump versus Kasich. I think that Kasich is going to benefit from that, but I think maybe it's a little too late, right? Actually, you know what? Maybe not. Yeah. I think Cruz is beneficially splitting it. But I think that if you Okay, so I think that Cruz is keeping Trump's numbers down in the context of a three-person race, right? So a lot of those Cruz voters would move to Trump. But I think that if you took Cruz out of the situation and you just made it Trump versus Kasich, I think that a lot of the people that are voting for Trump to stop Cruz would swing to Kasich. Yeah. And I think that might happen anyways. But I mean, if it doesn't, then you're looking at Trump I mean, he'll win 65%, 70% in these states, right? And at this point, that some more polls in a lot of these states have been released, and they are suggesting that Trump is winning huge. But I just still think that there's enough time for people to really take a closer look and get behind Kasich. But like I say, it's he needs that stream, right? And that could have been in Wisconsin, but maybe we'll find out if that was an outlier or not in the next couple of days.